Why do sailors wear different colored jerseys on aircraft carriers? That's a good question. And to answer that, you need to know what's known as rainbow jerseys, or in other words, all the different colored jerseys that sailors wear on the flight deck to distinguish between their rate, their rank, and basically who they are on the flight deck. So for starters, we have fuelies, also known as grapes, and they wear purple. And their primary job is to fuel aircraft. It sounds easy, but trust me, the hours that they put in, the amount of time that they spend on the flight deck, it's crazy. Next up, we got our blue shirts, and they're our aircraft handlers, our elevator operators, our tractor drivers. They pull chocks and chains, and in my opinion, the most predominant crew on the flight deck. Now, if we're talking about blue shirts, you can't forget to mention our yellows. And if you ask me, yellows are the ones that run the flight deck. These guys are our directors. Now, these guys are responsible for the movement of aircraft on the flight deck as well as the hangar bay. Now, there's more to yellow than just that. These guys also operate our catapults and are also known as our AGOs, or arresting gear officers. And if you ask me, they've got one of the coolest jobs on the flight deck. Now, next up, and my favorite of them all, is the green shirts, myself. And these guys are mostly maintenance, but they also operate on the catapults, the arresting gear, and they do much more. Now, on one half, you have all the guys who operate and maintain all launch and recovery equipment. And on the other, like myself, you have all the guys who perform the aircraft maintenance. And that maintenance varies from mechs to framers to ATs, AEs, and so on. And if you do want to know more about these different rates, just leave a comment and I could follow up in a new video. Now, next up, we've got one of the more popular rates, our red shirts, also known as ordnance. And if you ain't ordnance, you ain't shit. And if you fuck with AOs, I want you to comment below IOYAS. Now, these guys got one of the more cooler jobs in the Navy, and they're responsible for loading and the offload of aircraft ordnance. In other words, missiles, bombs, guns. When you think about the Navy, you think about Top Gun. And when you think about Top Gun, you're thinking about blowing shit up. Ordnance is responsible for all of that. Now, let's not forget to mention crash and salvage. Now, these guys are responsible for aircraft firefighting, rescue, as well as salvage operations. Now, next up, we've got our unsung heroes, our brown shirts, also known as plane captains, which I used to be in the past. These guys are responsible for pre-flight and post-flight preparation, integrity, and safety. They're also known as our brake riders, and they're the ones responsible for maintaining the cockpit, operating the brakes whenever aircraft movement is going on throughout the flight deck, as well as the hangar bay. And if you ask me, nobody knows what it means to be at the bottom of the barrel unless you've been in the line check or been a line rat, because it sucks. Now, last but not least, we've got our white shirts. Now, these guys are our QA, our safety, our LSOs, our troubleshooters. And if you ask me, that is one of the hardest working jobs on the flight deck. They're also our medical personnel, but I mean, you don't see them too often on the flight deck unless something is terribly wrong. Now, that pretty much sums up everybody who's on the flight deck. And if I'm missing you, go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll make sure to follow up with you in the next video. And if you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to like, comment, follow, share, the works. And if there's another topic you want me to talk about, just go ahead and leave it in the comment below and I'll make sure to get to it in my next video. Now, I hope that answers your question as to why